Hello and welcome back to What I Think I Know with your host, Dan Brigantino. And it's good news! The circuit split we talked about last week or the week before, maybe both, regarding standard capacity magazines, that's 10 plus, however other many. We had that decision from Janine Pirot. It was agreeing with an opinion written by a judge, and now it is the law of that land. The only thing they had a chance to stop it with was an appeal en banc, which means a selection of judges in that area would all get together in a big group and talk it over. Well, not going to happen. Oh my gosh, it's so exciting. It was denied. So that is now the law of the land in D.C., and there is a split of authority here in the United States. That means the Supreme Court now has to step in. Now it's not a guarantee that they'll step in anytime soon, but at least we have precedent. Oh, it's such a cool thing. Moving on, news in California, we had a debate for governor that was supposed to happen last week. Well, it turns out there weren't enough brown people running for governor, so they canceled it. So just because there's no brown people involved, that means Californians don't need to hear their potential future governors argue about what their stances are? That's absolutely ridiculous. But not surprising. Good job, DEI. I was hoping we got rid of that, but clearly not here. Speaking of California governor, there has been some news from Sheriff Chad Bianco. Now, I've kind of bashed him in the past. I've also praised him in the past. But he said that he wants to legalize all the illegals in the state, which I do not agree with. I don't think that's a good idea at all. But that's what he says he wants to do. And he's also kneeled for Black Lives Matter during all those protests. Not a good thing. You know, I said when I was talking about it, who else is he going to kneel to? Is he going to take a knee to the Democrats that have been running this state into the ground already? It's possible. However, he came out and said some beautiful things that I've been waiting for anybody to say for a long, long time. Check this out.
California, Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco. A lot of you are asking questions about what's going to happen with CARB and smog and modifications for cars. Well, with me as your governor, it's all gone. CARB will be signed away. We will no longer be punished just for living in California. These rules, these restrictions, these regulations that are only punishing Californians, gone.
Hello, California. Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco, your next governor. I have to pay vehicle registration today, and it's one of those every single year pains and headaches and heartaches that you have to go through in California. When I have family members and friends that live in other states that pay almost next to nothing for their vehicle registration, and I've been saying all along that California is better than every single state. So you look at your registration, it's actually not a vehicle registration. It's what I've been complaining about everything in California is the regulatory process with fees. Every single thing that you pay is a fee. You're being charged a fee to own and drive a car in California. So with me as your governor, we are going to do away with all of the fees and we will just call it vehicle registration. And it's going to be $25 no matter what type of car you drive, no matter what type of car you buy. $25 flat fee to register your vehicle so we can get you out on the road, get you out of the DMV, and make sure that you're legal. And put all of that money back into your wallet so you can spend it, because I know you can spend it better than the state can. So, add to the list of many things that we're going to make better with me as your governor. Vehicle registration fees will be gone, and we will have one flat charge of $25. Sounds good?
Smog, state refs, the lot, gone. Hundreds of dollars every year for your registration, gone. A set $25 to register your car. I think that's fair. I'd be happy to pay $25 a year. It's possible he wasn't super specific. It's possible that he was saying just a one-time $25 and you're registered and you're good to go. I kind of doubt that would be the case. But anyway, that's fantastic. I'll finally be able to drive my T-Bird. That's something I haven't done in a long time. It just sits in a parking lot for year after year, collecting more and more rats. Anyway, this is something that's super necessary. The smog checks in particular hurt only the poorest of people. If you can't afford a $2,000 catalytic converter, well, you definitely can't afford a $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 car. Hurts only the poorest of us all. It's a real shame that that's been going on so long, and through other means, cash for clunkers and things like that, the government, not just of California, but the whole country, has been systematically attempting to get rid of old cars. I don't think it's because they pollute. Yeah, sure, they pollute more than a regular car, but why is Los Angeles the only place in the country that's ever had an emissions issue, really? Also, they still have it. I think I talked about this several months back, but I was out there recently with all their, hybrids, electric cars. Nobody drives any cool old cars anymore. Well, the sky was still yellow. So I don't think it's the cars. Okay? But anyway, yeah, that would be a big help to the poorest of the poor, and a big help for kind of the looks of the state as well. I mean, we are a massive car state. Here in Monterey, in fact, we have one of the world's largest automotive gatherings. We call it Car Week. You might have heard of the Concours d'Elegance. It's, to my knowledge, we still hold the record for selling the world's highest priced car, however you say that. The car that went at auction for the highest dollar amount. Now, that could be incorrect, and we could break that record again this summer. You never know. But yeah, it's a week where people from all over the world come to town, bring in their sweet cars, fancy cars, homemade cars, any kind of car you can imagine. They bring them here and they show them off. It's a fantastic event. I was lucky enough to drive with Lamborghini one year. That was awesome. Getting paid to drive around town in a Lambo. Not a bad job. But anyway, we're a massive car state. Every weekend you could find a Cars and Coffee if you look. We've got San Jose up north, here in Hollister, down in Monterey. Anywhere you look, you could find an awesome car meet. They're happening all the time. And this would help us all immensely. That's, if your registration is $500 a year, you got a nice new car and it's fairly expensive. Maybe your wife has one too. Well, that's $1,000 a year you'll be saving. I guess $950 a month you'll be saving. But anyway, fantastic. I do believe that outweighs his kneeling and legalizing illegals. Maybe I'm jumping the gun here, but like I said, I think it outweighs it as long as he actually gets it done. That's kind of the struggle. These were not super in-depth videos. I'd like to hear him talk more about that. I wish we had a debate that we could hear more about what he thinks and what other people think about the future of the state. But unfortunately, we're going to have more brown people run for governor if we ever want to hear a debate. Anyway, speaking of legalizing and deporting and all that sort of thing, there has been a lot of hate on the system. People illegally cross the border because it's so hard to become a citizen, to get a visa, to be allowed into the country. Maybe it's not. Check this video out. So the sound was copywritten, so I can't play any audio, but at the bottom you see self-deporting to attend his immigration appointment with no guarantee he'd make it back home to our kids. We left everything in God's hands. That's the right move, first off. Not the self-deportation, but leaving everything in God's hands. That's the right move. But also self-deporting is a great move as well. Without self-deportation, if you get deported, the odds that you're ever going to be able the odds that you're ever going to be allowed back in are much, much smaller than they were. Let's keep watching. Kissing his kids goodbye. And 2 weeks later, reunited, prayers answered, his permanent residency was approved. Now we finally get to start this new chapter together, because leaving our kids was the hardest part of it all. Yeah, that's definitely the hardest part of it all. Never in my wildest dreams would I ever wish somebody to be separated from their family. But these guys have done it right. They took their bruises, took their lumps, and they came right back. 2 weeks is all it took. Okay, and I know they were still kind of in the middle of the process and whatnot. This was not an overnight thing. It wasn't just 2 weeks from the first filing of their paperwork. But it's proof that it can happen quicker than you think, and that the system does work. It's fantastic. Meanwhile, in Philadelphia, here's a fellow who's honestly probably an American citizen, unfortunately. We cannot deport him no matter what happens. It really sucks, but, well, here's what they think about you, me, and this big, beautiful country we live in.
Until we have done everything in our power to bring the United States to its knees, let us not lose sight of the enemy. For every U.S. military base that crumbles, and for every U.S. soldier who returns home in a casket, we cheer! Hamas, Hezbollah, Ansar-Allah, all of the resistance forces we celebrate. These popular voices on the ground spend every waking moment in direct confrontation with Zionism, and they rely on a strong Iranian state to maintain their fighting capacity.
Do you hate America? May a Hamas rocket blow up your family's home.
For every base that's destroyed and every soldier that returns in a casket, we cheer. I've really got no words for that. Unbelievable. If it gets any less American, I'm not sure I've seen it, at least within our borders. Wishing death upon our own soldiers. I know some soldiers who disagree with Trump, who hate Trump, and they would still do their duty because they're honorable people. So you're wishing death upon your team, your side. And not to become martyrs or anything, but just because they wanted to protect their friends and family from terrorists, whatever it was, whatever their motivation for joining the military. They wanted to sacrifice themselves to do a bigger thing. And you're just sitting here wishing for their death. And Hamas, Hezbollah, all the resistance forces that we celebrate. Is that not terrorism or being affiliated with a terrorist group? I can't imagine that what he's saying is properly protected under the First Amendment. Remember, the First Amendment does not protect from threat of violence. If I say, I'm going to kill you, that's a crime. That's a threat of violence. Have I done anything? No, but I'm threatening you. It's basically the same thing as pointing a gun at somebody, except I'm using my words and not my weapon. That's depressing. All these people, everybody crying about, oh, Donald Trump this, Donald Trump that, Republicans this, MAGA that. They're just victims, or trying to be victims, rather. Finding one reason or another to argue against great things. The gas mileage, or the gas prices have gone up. That's probably the only bad thing that has come out of Trump's presidency so far. Unfortunately for the left, well, the prices are right about where they were when Biden was in charge. So, what's going on there? We didn't even have a war in Iran with Biden, but we had the prices. Hey, anyway, speaking of kind of victimhood and whatnot, somebody put this clip together. I think it is beautiful and poignant. Here is both Michelle Obama and J.D. Vance talking about their experiences living in the White House.
We're going to have to move.
There are also a lot of good things.
It's expensive to live in the White House.
What a blessing it is to be here.
There were moments when I didn't feel like I got enough attention.
We live in this beautiful, very protected mansion that the American people have gifted us.
Many people don't know. I mean, much is not covered.
Most of our meals are prepared for us. So we don't have to worry as much about cooking.
You're paying for every bit of food that you eat.
There are a lot of things that in some ways make having a baby easier.
How do you raise kids in the White House? It's dangerous.
You don't have to worry about TSA lines when you're the vice president. Air Force Two makes transportation pretty easy.
We had to pay for their travel to be on the plane.
My attitude towards kids,
they're a hassle.
What the hell have we gotten ourselves into? No more kids.
They mess you up.
Then we had a second, then we had a third, and now both of us are just like, what's one more?
Whatever.
So I love that Michelle Obama, her husband is one of the most important people on the planet. And she's going, sometimes I feel like I just don't get enough attention. Come on. You kidding me? You're like the third most attention paid to women on the planet. And you're complaining that it's not enough. Wow. And then it just bounces back and forth. She says, it's expensive to fly on the planes. And J.D. Vance is like, yeah, we don't have to sit in TSA lines. It's great. Kids are terrible. They wear you down. They're hard to deal with. Oh my gosh. J.D. Vance, yeah, once we had a couple, we were like, what's another? Might as well have another. Oh my Lord. Victimhood versus, I would say, perpetual victimhood, because she's still on this. She still does this all the time. She came out not too long ago, and she was complaining about how she's not allowed to have curly hair because white people told her not to or something. Here's an interesting thing. I have people ask me all the time if they can touch my hair. I've never once asked a black person if I could touch their hair. That's interesting. I've never seen anybody ask a black person to touch their hair either. I've never been around that. And I'm from California. There's plenty of black people around. It's not like I'm lacking black folks in the area. But, like I said, people ask me probably every other day, every third day maybe, if they could touch my hair. I don't think it's strange. It's curly. People don't. Not everybody has curly hair, you know. Anyway, that's about it for the show. We're keeping it short because in just a couple days I am flying to Japan. I'll be there for 3 weeks. The content will be a little bit different. It'll probably get more views. People will probably enjoy it more. But anyway, I have a GoPro on a stick, and I'm going to be just kind of filming as much as I possibly can, and eating as much as I possibly can. So excited for the egg salad sandwiches. Never been to Japan before, but I've always thought it was an incredible country. They cut themselves off from the whole rest of the world for like 500 years. They allowed, I think it was like a group of 40 Dutch people to live on an island off the coast. And they did extremely consolidated trading with whoever else. They didn't want anybody else's influence from coming into the country, and I admire that. And they're still holding it up pretty well. You know, they've been fighting pretty hard against the Muslims recently, and that's a beautiful thing. So I'm going to go check it out firsthand, and well, I hope the airports are all good to go. I know there's been a lot of worry about, you know, airports getting shut down. I even had somebody say something like Trump was going to invoke martial law and that we're going to either not be able to go to Japan or we're going to get stuck in Japan. Ridiculous. You know, something actually has to happen first and then he invokes martial law. If you look around, ain't nothing going on. Now, in 2020, we got close with all those George Floyd riots. That was kind of close to a potential martial law sort of situation, but I definitely don't see anything like that happening anytime soon. And I am quite certain that we're going to go to Japan. We're actually going to spend a few days in Korea as well. Going to go check out the demilitarized zone, see what we can see of North Korea. That'll be neat. And then we'll be back in 3 weeks. And like I said, I'll still be posting at least once a week from there. But the content will be a little bit different. Maybe more food orientated. But anyway, last but not least, our hero of the week. Now, our hero this week is actually, at the moment, anonymous. His name has not been released yet. But speaking of airports, you know, during this most recent government shutdown thing, the TSA employees have not been getting paid. Most of them in most places are still coming to work, which, well done. Great job. Thank you very much. It might have been threatened, you know, we're going to fire you if you don't come into work. That's a reasonable threat, I would say. But anyway, they're still going to work, and that's a fantastic thing. In certain airports, there have been upwards of 40% of the TSA agents not coming into work. And those airports have seen a fair amount of ICE officers come in to actually replace the TSA agents, to take the burden off of the few TSA agents that are coming in. And one of these officers in particular noticed something scary, and that was a baby who was non-responsive and not breathing. A 1-year-old in the TSA line, and this ICE agent, who again has not been named, spotted the situation, got to the I think it was the father holding the child. We'll watch the video clip in just a second. And he performed CPR for a minute or two and restored the baby's breathing. And as far as I know, the baby's doing fine. That's a beautiful thing. Let's watch the little clip from the CCTV cameras. That is fantastic. You can see him run in from kind of the upper left of the screen. And it looks like he had spotted this from quite a ways away and just kind of gone sort of at a jog kind of thing, grabbed the father by the shoulder, and, takes care of the situation. Well done, sir. Unfortunately, in the comments, they're just full of, like, oh, ICE are a bunch of murderers and Trump's a pedophile. It is so confusing how someone can see an ICE officer save a baby's life and be mad about it. It just doesn't make sense. But whatever. Who cares? Keep doing what you're doing. Mr. Unnamed Officer, I have a delicious Coors Banquet waiting for you right over here. I would love to share a beer with you. You sound like a wonderful fella. I hope you're doing well. I hope that baby's doing well. Thank you all for watching. God bless you. God bless this big, beautiful rock we live in. And we'll see you next week.